Hello, today I'll be covering the end of the year audition music for trombone and euphonium. So, if we look at this audition music, it looks relatively easy, and that actually makes it harder because that means there's going to be more competition. Okay, everybody's going to be able to play the notes and the rhythms correctly, and what's going to separate one person from the other is going to be their musicality and their style. So, that's going to be our main focus for today. Looking at the big picture, we can separate this page into two parts. There's a lyrical section in the first half till the end of variation 2, and then starting at variation 3 till the end, we have a march section. Okay, the styles are going to be drastically different, so when you record yourself playing this, you need to make sure that it's audible. Okay, for the lyrical sections, or for the lyrical section, there's two things I want you guys to keep in mind. Number one is airflow. Okay, as trombones and euphonium players, we tend to when we first learn the instrument, we learned tonguing, and we're like, oh, we want to tongue everything, and um, that's not that's not the mindset we want to have for this. Okay, if we think too much about tonguing, then the airflow will go out the window, and I can tell you guys, if there is any gap in your air during an audition, whoever's judging will take points off. Okay, I've had experience with judges. I can tell you that you can very easily, in an audition room, you could tell who will make the last four chairs and who will make the first four chairs. Okay, and that's just by their airflow and their tone. But yeah, so first one is airflow, and we can include tone with that too. Okay, second one, okay, is going to be vibrato. Okay, as trombone and euphonium players, we don't get taught vibrato early on. However, that's another distinction between first and last year. Okay, you even if you play it worse than upper, like naturally or without vibrato, you play it worse than another person. Okay, and you just add vibrato, you get a higher chair than them. Okay, it's very, very, very simple. It's very simple, and we don't utilize it. Okay, I can guarantee you, if you use vibrato and you um, know when to use it, then you'll automatically get placed in the upper chairs during the audition. Okay, when you hear a trombone or euphonium with good vibrato, it's hard not to judge them higher than other people who don't use it. So to do that, I need you guys to search on YouTube how to do vibrato on trombone, euphonium, and listen to players. Okay, that's the only way. If you listen to players, um, doesn't even have to be on trombone or euphonium. It can be on cello, it can be on violin, or it can be even somebody singing. Okay, vibrato is going to add a lot of musicality to the music. On the topic of that, on the topic of that, we want to be able to phrase things properly. Okay, and we use our vibrato and we use our airflow to do it. Okay, so this whole section right here is divided into many phrases. Okay, I can tell you that the first line is divided into two phrases, um, which is relatively from this E flat to this B flat, and this A flat to this E flat right here. And second line, two phrases as well. But this line, the breath mark divides it for us, so we don't have to try as much. So two phrases here, two phrases here, two phrases here. Now you're probably thinking, what is a phrase? Okay, phrase is like a sentence. Okay, it has a start, it has an end. Okay, you want to end at one point, you want to start at one point. If you don't have a destination, you can't have a phrase. Okay, so that means um, you want to shape it. You know, give the phrase some shape. When directors say give the phrase some shape, it means like crescendos, rubato, decrescendo, right? Subtly slow it down, speed it up to add some texture and taste. Okay, if I played this with a metronome, it wouldn't sound nearly as close as if I played it musically and with my own style. However, that doesn't mean slow down and speed up constantly. Okay, if you do that, you're gonna get major, major, major points off. Okay, so usually at the start of a phrase, it'll be softer, and at the end of a phrase, will be softer, and there'll be a climax to the middle. This isn't always the case, but we can use this principle for this piece. Okay. Looking at variation 1, it's the same thing. Okay, there's slurs in it too, or I mean, there's eighth notes in it too. That means we have to use even faster air. Okay, again, any breaks, you're getting points off. Same thing with variation 2, even faster air than variation 1. Okay, you see that actually in these groupings of eighth notes, the last note tends to be tongued, and that means you have to make a distinction too between slurred and tongued. Okay, um, just because that these notes have even at the beginning, these two slurred groupings have a tongue in the middle, that doesn't mean you should stop the air. If you stop the air and I was a judge, I would take points off right away as well. So that's variation. That's the theme, variation 1 and variation 2. So variation 3, variation 4, variation 5. So actually, I forgot to mention the last three variations. You want to take it at 80, or you can take variation 1 and variation 2 a little bit faster, depending on how you feel, as long as it's comfortable for you and it makes sense musically. Okay, don't take it too fast though. Variation 3, it's going to be march like. Okay, you see that the style is mostly marcato and staccato. There's some lyrical things here and there. So that means I want you guys to make it light. Okay, that's gonna be the main word for this part portion. Light. If you don't make it light and you make it heavy, you get points off. Okay. You don't want a march sounding very heavy and very aggressive. Okay, it's supposed to be light. It's supposed to be playful. Okay, and we're gonna achieve that by keeping fast air and a good fast articulation. Your tongue is only half of your articulation. Okay, your articulation comes from your air. Okay, your air goes is constant, and your tongue is just like putting your finger over a faucet. Okay, you're just compressing that air, so when you release it, it comes out and it makes a poof noise, and that's your articulation. So keep in mind the march style. Don't miss this E natural right here. Okay, it's not an E flat. We tend to forget that because the rest of the E's in this variation are E flats. Variation 4, okay, again key of F, E natural here, E natural here. Same thing as variation 3. There's really not that much of a difference, other than the 16 notes in this variation are mostly tongued. Keep in mind, even if they're staccato and they're tongued, when you practice it slow, practice them long, okay? Because when you speed it up, you don't want your notes sounding like you're spitting into the instrument. Staccato does not mean short, it means separated. Okay, if you make them short and they sound like you're spitting in the instrument, no tone, no anything, you are going to probably fail the entire audition. Okay, so yeah, variation 4. Make sure you do the hairpin right here. You guys don't know the hairpin. A hairpin is just basically a crescendo next to a decrescendo. Okay, make sure you get these legatos right here. Make a big difference between the legatos, the slurred, and the tongue portion. Variation 5, not very much different from variation 4. The tempo uh, is relatively the same, and this right here, the pick up at the beginning, it might look tricky to some of us, but that's deceiving because it's actually not. Okay, it's basically just a grouping of 16 notes. Okay, so beat 1 will be on this rest. Okay, if you want to practice the pickup, I suggest with a metronome, and you would just add another note right here. It doesn't matter what note, just add another note, and then remove it once you get comfortable. So you're gonna start with 1 to teto 1, and then you can go to teto 1. Okay, as again, light, fast, articulation. Okay, so um, and that would be your beginning. Okay, and then you can do the legato right here. Keep in mind this is the same as this, but since this legato, you have to make a big difference. Da, 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 da. So that's how you would play that. Okay, and right here, make sure this is an E natural, guys. E natural. So slur tongue, and right here. Okay, then again long notes, staccato, slur, tongue. Last here is the octave. Okay, for the octave, tendency for trombone players is going to be kind of flat. Euphonium players is going to be kind of sharp. Okay, I don't want you guys to be pulling out slides or anything because usually that's not the problem. Usually the problem is just our embouchure and we're not consistent with it. So for this, I suggest getting out a tuner or just playing a normal F on the mouthpiece and going an octave above and making sure it's in tuned. Okay, so you can do this with the mouthpiece and then plug in your instrument and it should be fine. Okay, so um, here it is. All right, so that wraps it up for um, the audition music. Okay, if you guys have any questions, just message me on Remind, and I'll reply to them about the music. You guys can set up private Zoom sessions with me, and I'll help you with it even more, and we'll go into even greater detail. Okay, but the key points for today is again style and musicality. It's what's going to separate everybody who makes the top band from the second and third band. Okay, I can tell you that when I audition at region or area, I'm never perfect. I always crack notes. I always crack notes, and I always like have some kind of like mistake. However, the reason I play high is because of musicality and style. Okay, the judges will not care that much if you miss one or two notes than if you play it in the incorrect style or with no direction whatsoever. Okay, it should be like you're singing the whole thing. Okay, so that's all for today, and stay safe.